When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
This content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion advised.
It was a woman's voice, though she wasn't moving her lips at all. Her voice was echoing through my mind.
All across the house, we heard pounding like something was hitting the doors and walls trying to break in.
She just popped out of existence like a glitch in a video game.
Her eyes were completely black, swallowing what little light there was. Her mouth hung open far wider than it should have, stretched into a silent scream that never ended.
From Killer Podcasts, true tales of the occult, otherworldly encounters, unexplainable events. This is Disturbed True Paranormal. In our first story, a boy has an inexplicable encounter, narrated by Bodhi Crowe from Reddit user Tsavo Maneater.
I'm 17 and live in a suburb outside of Oklahoma City. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved jumping on my family's trampoline. And I'd usually do it after dinner as a way to decompress and get some exercise. Last night, I was doing just that. I did a backflip on the trampoline and landed facing towards a storage shed in my backyard. Through the window of the shed, I saw the silhouette of something tall. My dad had just spent some time earlier organizing the shed, so I just assumed it was a ladder and thought nothing of it. I kept jumping for a bit, and as I landed a front flip, one of my AirPods flew out of my ear and into the corner of the trampoline. As I went over to pick it up, I heard the unmistakable sound of dead grass crunching behind me. I spun around and there was a stranger right there, just feet from the trampoline. I freaked out and yelled at them to go away, initially mistaking them as homeless. I quickly realized that they had no idea what words were coming out of my mouth. Then I realized how oddly proportioned this person was. They had to be about 7 feet tall, skinny, with light but brown skin at the same time, and a plaid dress that cut off just below the crotch. Their most distinct feature was their hair, though. It was absolutely massive, very reminiscent of the scene style of hair from the late 2000s. The person's face was extremely confusing as well. I couldn't decipher if they were Slavic or Middle Eastern. I got off my trampoline on the opposite side of them and tried talking to them as if this was maybe the wrong house, presuming they were drunk or whatnot. No answer. I tried something stupid and spoke to them in my native language of Bosnian. And then they instantly started a conversation back with me. It was a woman's voice, though she wasn't moving her lips at all. Instead, her voice was echoing through my mind. She was talking to me in Bosnian and Russian, saying a mix of absolute nonsense. Though the most plausible explanation I could get out of her spiel was that she was on the run and was in absolute fear of someone named Anya. I tried commuting back with her, but for some reason, I wasn't able to get any words out. Even so, she looked as if she knew I was talking and was trying to grasp what I was saying. Then she just vanished into the ground, leaving a small dirt pile. She had completely disappeared. walked back inside and decided it was time to go to sleep for the night. The whole thing seemed like a fever dream, but it was very real. I'm curious if anybody has had any explanation for what I encountered.
Down Under, Something is on the Hunt. Narrated by Melissa Wilson from Reddit user Aussie Range.
I'm sharing this because I am really freaked out and need help. For some context, I've always had an interest in cryptids and spirits and such. I'm not scared of these paranormal entities though. I have a firm belief, with spirits at least, that if I don't allow something to have the power to scare me, it can't, which will keep me safe. This has rang true through frequent experiences with the supernatural. Until now, I live in an extremely rural town. It has a population of 150 people, one fruit shop and one corner shop. Don't even have a primary school. Most people in my town are over the age of 60 and don't leave the house. This might be irrelevant, but kind of sets the scene. Back when I was 14, I had a friend named Dustin that lived about 1.5 kilometres or a mile away from me. I lived in a more central part of town and he wasn't allowed to walk home alone since he lived down a very private and bush-enclosed path. We were out with a mutual friend, Stacey, who was planning to sleep over at my house that night. It was 6 in the summertime, and if you know Australia in the summertime, it means the sun is only just setting, so it was bright out. We had no issues walking Dustin home. But 5 minutes into the walk back, it just felt wrong. The only thing I can equate the feeling to is unimaginable guilt. Like when you were a kid and took an extra lolly and then got caught. Like your stomach sinking and your chest tightening and stuff. But I just kept walking. Slowly, another feeling grew in my chest. Feeling that I was being watched. Now, my area is known for wild dogs and the local council baits them about 3 times a year for 2 to 3 months at a time. I assumed a dog was hiding in a bush, watching us, too afraid to step out into the open. The path you had to walk to get back to the centre of town was surrounded by thick lantana, a flowery shrub, and more trees behind them. As a result, you can't see through the foliage, and the road stays very, very quiet. It's like an alley. Stacey and I had about a 20-minute walk left when I heard the gravel of the path crunching behind us. I went to turn my head around, but Stacey squeezed my hand and sort of nodded forward. I trusted her and kept my eyes straight ahead. Then I felt a tug at my head. Stacey and I immediately looked at each other and then broke out into a sprint. As we ran, we heard a scream from behind us in the brush, and Stacey shouted to just keep running and not look back. I was panicking, so I just followed her instructions. We ran for nearly 15 minutes, completely unaware if we were being followed. And when we arrived home, we hopped my fence to not waste any time. We rushed inside and shut all the doors and curtains so no one could see inside. My mother and 12-year-old brother were out grocery shopping, so it was just us alone in the house. We sat on the couch catching our breath, and for a moment we thought it was over. And the banging started. All across the house, we heard pounding like something was hitting the doors and walls trying to break in. It lasted for 35 minutes. Stacey and I stayed huddled together, too overwhelmed and afraid to move. A bit after the noise stopped, I heard my mum asking me to open the door. She said something along the lines of, "Can you open the door? I have the groceries to put inside." The issue with that was my mum was the type of lady to say, "Get this door open right now. Why is it locked? You're being ridiculous," and mix in a bunch of swear words. Sensing something was off, I ignored her request. A few moments later, the banging returned again, more intense this time. After about 5 minutes, it stopped and I heard the gate open, my mum's car park, and her angry voice at the door. Since then, I've heard the banging directly above mine and my brother's rooms every couple of weeks or so. I've talked to my parents about it, but they think I'm crazy. They can't hear it, but my brother and I can. Thankfully, I'm 17 now and going to move out soon. I don't talk to Stacey very much anymore, but the last time I brought it up, she denied being at my house at all. She claims she never experienced anything like I did. But Dustin is insistent that Stacey, not me, had told him about everything the weekend after it happened. My parents don't lock the doors at night so our dogs can look out the screen door. And I'm quite scared that whatever's keeping track of me will figure that out. But I don't even know what it is or what it's capable of. I only have one clue. Stacey, before she started denying everything, was insistent that it was a physical creature. She's Aboriginal, so she's learned a lot about these types of things through her family. She told me that if I ever look out the window while it's banging, to look at its eyes. And if they were white, it was a wandering entity. Red meant it wanted a reaction, and black meant it wanted to cause pain. Does anyone have any ideas of what it could be? Or what Stacey was talking about?
Every group has someone who insists on doing things the hard way. That friend still paying for a subscription they forgot they had, the one refusing to update their phone because it still works. I used to be that person too, especially when it came to overpaying for wireless. Then I switched to Mint Mobile, and I'm so glad I did. Because here's the thing. Mint gives you the premium wireless you expect, unlimited talk, text, and data, but without the inflated price tag. Same coverage, same speed, just way less money disappearing into the void every month. And recently, we actually added another phone to our plan. So if the kids are home alone, they've got a direct line to mom and dad. It's peace of mind without paying big wireless panic prices. Ready to stop paying for more than you have to? New customers can make the switch today and for a limited time, get unlimited premium wireless for just $15 per month. Switch now at mintmobile.com/disturbed. That's mintmobile.com/disturbed. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. Additional terms apply. See mintmobile.com. A well-built wardrobe is about pieces that work together and hold up over time. That's what Quince does best. Premium materials, thoughtful design, and everyday staples that feel easy to wear and easy to rely on, even as the weather shifts. And for me, Quince has become one of those brands I keep coming back to because it just works. I've got their joggers in heavy rotation, my bed sheets from Quince have legitimately changed the quality of my sleep, and my Flow-Knit Performance Zip Hoodie is one of those grab-it-without-thinking staples that's always comfortable and always looks good. Quince has the everyday essentials I love with quality that lasts. Organic cotton sweaters, polos for every occasion, lighter jackets that keep you warm in the changing seasons, the list goes on. And they cut out the middlemen so you're not paying for the brand markup. Just quality that holds up to daily wear. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/disturbed for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/disturbed. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/disturbed.
Across the pond, a man steps into something he still doesn't understand. Narrated by Andrew Winson from Reddit user Izzy of Albion.
I had had a lot of strange experiences in my life, and I had finally decided to share them online. This was perhaps the most remarkable. I remember every detail vividly, partially due to the fact that I wrote everything down right after it happened. It was dusk, approximately 5:50 p.m. on a Monday. I was 25 years old. It was lightly raining, and I was at the end of a bridge in Surrey, walking home after a day in the office. It was an old street, 4 lanes with a narrow median. The pavement was just about wide enough for 2 people to pass and had an uneven patchwork surface which often presented a trip hazard. Since it was the evening rush hour, I was one of many people heading home. The road was busy with cars, and there were many pedestrians whom I had to avoid bumping shoulders with whilst avoiding the puddles. I looked ahead to see a young woman walking towards me, about 15 feet away. She had long brown hair, wore a thick white sweater, and carried a black leather bag. She moved slightly to her left, and I moved slightly to mine so we could easily pass. I glanced down to check my footing, and at the exact moment that I looked up, everything changed. The young woman vanished. She just popped out of existence like a glitch in a video game, as did all of the 6 or 7 cars which were in my field of view on this side of the road. They were simply gone in a moment, along with the rain and the puddles. Even the ground was now bone dry. I stopped in my tracks, almost frozen to the spot. Every hair stood on end, and my blood ran cold. I snapped my head round to see if the young woman had passed me, though she would have had to have teleported if so. No, she wasn't there. Nobody was. As far as I could see, on my side of the road, there was now not a soul. Except there was now an old man in front of me. A man who, I could say for certain, had not been there before. He was about 20 feet in front of me, with his back to me, such that I had a 3/4 rear view of him. He was around 80 years old, with a hunched stance, messy grey hair, and a bald spot. For fans of the sitcom Father Ted, he looked exactly like Father Jack. He wore a slightly baggy and very crumpled dark grey suit and black shoes. He was standing right on the curb in a rather odd way. His heels were on the curb, and his feet were flat, leaving the toes of his shoes hanging in the air over the edge in a way that almost seemed to defy gravity. I stood and stared at this man for a good 15 to 20 seconds, taking in every detail. This was no shadow in the corner of my eye. This man was as real as any. He did nothing but point, arm fully extended, towards the bridge. Though I couldn't see his face, I could see that his mouth was open. I looked at the bridge, but I couldn't see anything of note that he might have been pointing at. What I did notice was that the other side of the street was as normal and as busy as it should have been. And if something spooky was happening here, it was not visible to my fellow commuters. I also couldn't hear any of it. All the racket of cars and their horns, people on the phone, was mute. All was dead silence except for my own breath and subsequent footsteps. Whatever was happening, I needed to pass this man. So I stepped to my right and gave him a berth so wide my shoulder was rubbing the walls as I passed him, all the while keeping him in my peripheral vision, and decided in that moment that I would look round and look at his face as soon as I had passed. I wanted to see the nature of his expression. Was he sad, angry, shocked, confused? Despite these extremely odd circumstances, he could have just been an old man with Alzheimer's, lost and in need of help. Also, I wanted to see if it really did look like Father Jack. So, when I was no more than 3 paces past him, I turned to look at his face. And he was gone. Vanished into thin air in the blink of an eye, just like that young woman. My blood ran cold for a second time. I was now the only person on this side of the road, whilst the other side remained as busy as ever. There was simply nowhere for him to have gone. No cars to duck behind, no doorways to dash into, nothing. I stood there for a while and took in the scene across the road. It didn't seem quite right. The colours looked more vivid than they should have been, certainly compared to my side, which seemed so desaturated of colour as to almost be in grayscale. These completely oblivious commuters seemed to move strangely, almost sped up, and everything looked a bit smudgy, as if all of this was the other side of a wall of wet glass. That's the only way I could describe it. What's more, it was clearly still raining on the other side of the road, whilst my side was bone dry. This divide, this apparent wall between realities, seemed to reach all the way to the bend in the distance, right down the line of the median, which was less than 20 feet away. Though I got the distinct feeling that it was now inaccessible to me. Maybe it was the rising fear, because I felt the sudden need to get the hell out of there. I turned and walked very briskly towards the corner of the street, where I was relieved to see traffic. The cross street looked completely normal. I even made eye contact with a driver as I picked my way through it. Human acknowledgement was a huge comfort in that moment. I turned left on the other side and jogged toward the bridge before stopping to look back where I had been. Barely 15 seconds had passed, but that part of Clarence Street, impossibly, was now completely unremarkable. Populated with cars, as it should have been, just as the pavement was now full of people marching home in both directions, and, apparently, in the rain. Whatever it was I had experienced had either passed or could only be seen from within. As I stood there on the edge of the bridge, I wondered what that old man, if he had existed at all, could have been pointing so intently at. Not much had happened on that bridge in recent memory, but there was a deeply traumatic event from my childhood that stood out. When I was about 6, circa 1985, I was feeding the ducks with my mum and sister on the bank of the river, very close to the bridge. There was a sudden hullabaloo on the other side, shouting and screaming. A young woman had climbed over the railings atop the bridge and was about to jump. Despite the pleading from those around, just moments later she did so, fatally striking something hard on her way to the water. Amid the crying and wailing of onlookers, some ran down to the bank and jumped in to try to reach her, but it was in vain trying to save her life. It was too late. I remembered my mother trying to stop my sister and me from seeing it, trying to usher us away from the ducks and this horrible scene, but in truth, we had all seen everything already. I don't know. Maybe it was not at all related to what I thought of as a time slip. Maybe it was not a time slip at all, but some other inexplicable event. All I knew was that I was young and fit, had had no alcohol, taken no medication, and had had an appallingly easy desk job which left me neither tired nor stressed. I wrote every detail of this down when I got home, and though I had trodden that same pavement many hundreds of times since, nothing like it had repeated.
Finally, a family has an eerie encounter. Narrated by Ethan J. McEntyre from Reddit user DoRooster82.
I've never told this story online before, mostly because I'm not sure I want people to believe me. But this is really what happened. In 2012, when I was very young, I saw something in my bedroom. I woke up in the middle of the night for no reason at all. The room was dark, kind of dark where shapes don't feel right. As my eyes adjusted, I noticed someone sitting across from my bed. It was a little girl. I lived with my parents and my 2 younger brothers. I never had a sister. There should not have been a little girl in my room. She was sitting in an old wooden rocking chair, baby blue, small red sailboat painted on the headrest. My mom had bought it at a yard sale just days earlier. It hadn't even been in the house long enough to feel familiar. The chair wasn't rocking. She was perfectly still. When my eyes finally focused on her face, my stomach dropped. Her expression was wrong. Not angry, not sad. Frozen. Like she had been locked into the moment of pure terror. Her eyes were completely black, swallowing what little light there was. Her mouth hung open far wider than it should have, stretched into a silent scream that never ended. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. I tried to move, but I couldn't. My body felt heavy, pinned down, as if something was pressing me into the mattress. I could barely breathe. All I could do was stare back as she stared at me. She didn't blink. Time stopped making sense. Seconds felt like hours. The room felt colder, quieter, like the house itself was holding its breath. And then she was gone. No sound, no movement. One moment, she was there. The next, the chair was empty. The instant she vanished, my body unlocked. I screamed so hard it hurt. Like the sound had been trapped inside me all night and finally broke free. I didn't sleep after that. I tried to convince myself it was a dream. Sleep paralysis, my imagination. That almost worked. Until morning. The house smelled like pancakes. Warm, sweet, normal. My brothers and I ran downstairs, laughing, ready to destroy breakfast like nothing had happened. But I couldn't stop thinking about her. At the table, I finally told my mom what I had seen. I expected her to smile and tell me it was just a nightmare. She didn't. She went quiet. She stared down at her plate for a long time before speaking, like she was choosing her words carefully. She told me she had heard something that night. Crying. At least, she thought it was crying. It didn't sound like any of her children. Parents know the sound of their kids crying. This was different. She said it sounded distorted, wrong. A voice being played backward, still close enough to a child's cry to make her get out of bed. She followed the sound to the stairs leading up to our room. My parents slept on the second floor. My brothers and I slept on the third. When she reached the stairs, the crying stopped. Instantly. No footsteps. No movement. Just silence. We never saw or heard anything like it again. The rocking chair stayed. Sometimes I still think about that face, that frozen expression, the way she just watched me. You can call it sleep paralysis if you want, but I wasn't the only one awake that night. So tell me, what do you think I saw? Because the rocking chair was never in my room. My mom bought it the next day.
Want more Disturbed? Check out our Patreon for member-exclusive content, early merch access, and other cool perks. I'm your host, Doug Bailey, and this has been Disturbed, a production of Killer Podcasts and part of the Evergreen Network. For more paranormal and true crime shows, visit killerpodcasts.com. Follow our social channels at Disturbed Podcast on Instagram or Disturbed_pod on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing and reviewing on your favorite listening platform. Share your own true horror story at disturbedpodcast.com. Music by Epidemic Sound and by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Our producer is Declan Roars. Audio engineering by Nathan Corson, Will Pritz, and Sean Rule Hoffman. Executive producer Bridget Coyne. Until next time, stay safe out there.